Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So it's about 11:30, 23.6 degrees Celsius, 68% humidity. Yeah, it's kind of dank and nasty out here. So we've made it to the middle of July, 7/14, Tuesday, 75.0 according to that. And my batteries are working on charging here. Well, where are we? A few things. First of all, some official Horde business. 51 Zebra received his grinder and he sent me a nice note thanking me for it. So that's really pretty cool. Yeah, it was... You know, I like communicating with folks out there. I like getting to know them a little bit. Always interesting hearing somebody's what they do with their lives. You know, there's a lot of good people out there, so just want to make that comment. And 51 Zebra is one of them. Another good person out there. I speak of him quite a bit, William Staten. He has a channel, and I hope you guys go and check him out. He's rebuilding a CG 250, I think it is, 200 or 250 engine. And he and I communicate quite a bit because we seem to fall into the same nuts and bolts of swapping engines around and rebuilding engines and all that kind of stuff. He has some 300cc Honda stuff, quad stuff that he works with, but he also works with a lot of the China stuff, and I'd probably consider him an expert on working on a lot of the China stuff. Anyway, if you get a few moments, for those of you who have an innate curiosity, you should check out his channel because he's rebuilding a CG, and once again, I think it's a 250 engine. And the engine has a single lobe cam. One lobe on the cam, just one. So the way it works is it must, for every 4 turns of the crank, the cam must go around just once. Right, so obviously 4 cycles means the crank has to go around 4 times. One of the 4 is power. The other one is you have intake, compression, exhaust. Intake, compression, power, and exhaust. Right, 4 strokes. So as you're looking at it. If to get the valves to work properly, right? I'm thinking that cam could only go around once for every 4 spins. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm going to have to think about it some more. But anyway, so you got one lobe, and the way it works is you have cam followers and rockers and push rods, which go up, and then do push rods, which the push rods go up and do rockers, which open and close the valves. So that's really pretty cool. It looks, I don't know, looks like an old airplane engine or whatever. He calls it a copy of a Honda engine, and it must be an old motorcycle engine, bigger cc than I'm used to before my day. I have been into the old 50cc engines with the push rods, and they're a little different. I think they got 2 lobes on the cam. I'm pretty sure. I didn't get into the bottom end of the engine. So, but anyway, it's really cool. You guys should go out there and take a look at it because just interesting, right? Anyway, he was here a while ago now, beginning of June, I think it was. And, you know, we've talked about a lot of things. And one of the things we've talked about, and I've been battling with, and I made something similar to this out of copper. Now what this does is this allows you to put a slide-on carburetor, let's say you have a 200 or a 250 or 300, whether it's a Kawasaki or Honda, the bigger engines, the carburetor slides on, and then you put a clamp, right? And this allows you to convert that to your typical you guys are going to have to excuse me today. My hands hurt like no tomorrow. I don't know what I did to them, but they're not functioning properly. Anyway, this basically allows you to put a standard carburetor, a cheap carburetor, a Honda clone carburetor onto a 250cc bike, which is really, really pretty cool, right? So anyway, he made this for me. So here we have it, and I look forward to using it. Another thing, I call it putting it in the toolbox. When you get a bike, there's always when a bike shows up at the Horde, it always has carburetor issues. I'm going to keep that in there with all the carbs so I don't lose it. So the ability to swap a carburetor that a carburetor that you're good at rebuilding, a carburetor that you could buy new for $25 or less, right, onto an unknown engine quickly, especially if you set yourself up with the carburetor with a throttle already attached, right? Now you have an unknown engine that you have a good carburetor on. So typically what I like to do is any unknown engine, this unknown engine, let's pretend. First thing I'll do is I'll give it a couple of kicks. And you learn a lot that way. First of all, is it seized? Obviously, if I can't kick it, it's seized. Secondly, you get an idea what the compression is and what its potential to start is. If it feels a little shaky, I'll put a compression gauge on it, make sure I have compression, right? While I'm doing the compression check, typically I have the spark plug out. Well, I have to have the spark plug out to do a compression test, and I normally hang the spark plug over the side and see if I have spark. If I don't, I change the plug, and if I don't, I change the plug yet a second time, because I've been screwed by brand new plugs being no good. So that's normally first. If I have spark and I have compression, now I bolt one of those carburetors on, or I use the little jig William sent me, and I hang a carburetor off the thing. Now, right, I have compression, I have spark, and I have a carburetor. Normally, when you have those three, what you have next is a running engine. Once it fires up, I can hear what it sounds like, see if it sounds like it's got potential. I could see how much it's smoking. You know, I can learn like so much in a matter of minutes. So one of the tricks, got to get a carburetor on it, got to make sure it's got spark and all that. Obviously, guys, make sure you check the oil before you fire up an engine. I've also had engines come in fairly low on compression, you know, like the 60, 70 range, 80 range, and I checked the oil, and particularly this one, the Junkyard Dog, right? They had drained the oil, and it sat around with oil for a long, long time. So when I added oil to it, the compression went from, I think it was like 80 to over 125 by just putting oil in it. So if you come up with low compression, just don't walk away. Take a few minutes, put oil, make sure the oil in the engine, make sure there's oil in the engine first of all. Secondly, if the oil is like gasoline, you might not want to start that engine anyway, because it could hand grenade in your face, and that wouldn't be a good thing, would it? But check the oil, get some decent oil into it if that's what it needs, and redo the compression test. If it comes in low yet again, put a little oil down the cylinder, down where the spark plug is. Not a ton of oil. I have a tendency to put too much oil, and then you kind of, hydraulic your gauge. No, don't do that. So put just a couple of drops of oil, 6 drops. Let's make it 6 drops of oil or 10 drops of oil. Don't pour oil down the cylinder. Just a few drops is all you need. And give yourself a compression gauge and check again. If it goes from like 80 or 90 or 50 up to 120, then you know that your rings are probably wiped. I mean, there's other things you see when you're bringing in an unknown bike. Does it have an air filter on it? Right? A lot of times you could get an idea. Is there oil dripping out of the exhaust where the exhaust bolts up? It doesn't take long. A lot of times after you've been burned a few times, you kind of learn to what to look at. So anyway, Bill Staten, thank you very much for the carburetor adapter. That will be useful. I'll make good use of that. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to end up on a bike permanently, or if actually I'd really prefer to keep it as a test piece. I'd rather use it for something like that. All right, folks. Thanks for watching and commenting and subscribing. Thanks to all my subscribers, new, old. Appreciate. Thanks for all the feedback, all the input. The feedback, very, very helpful. And sometimes it keeps me honest because I can be sloppy the way I talk. Guys, remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now.